Welcome back to another episode of Become a Calm Mama. I'm your host. I'm Darlene Childress. I'm a life and parenting coach. And on the episode today, I want to talk to you about the 3 essential beliefs kids need for emotional health. I have a lot of parents who talk to me about wanting to make sure that they don't mess up their kid. They want to help their children grow up to have a good self-esteem and to take risks and to think for themselves and be responsible and have a good relationship with others and with their body and all of those things that you think about as, what you want for your kids, your vision for them when they grow up. And we all worry a little bit about how to do it when they're little. What are we supposed to be doing when they're young in order to set them up for that success in adulthood? That is such a great question to be asking. And so on this episode, I want to take that question of how do I help my kid become emotionally healthy? What are the key ingredients, or what do I need to make sure I'm doing in their childhood to prepare them and set them up for success, right? That's what we're all trying to do as parents, is give our kids the essential things they need in order to thrive and be well. Now, for me, my goal is to heal the next generation in advance. So my thought is I want to help kids not have to spend their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s even recovering from their childhood. I want to help you raise your kids in a way that you don't create childhood wounds, right? That you don't create trauma, and that you help your kids grow up in a way that they are really functioning, emotionally resilient, emotionally healthy, emotionally mature adults. Isn't that what we're all working on even now? So as a parent, I'm sure that's what you want to do, and you want to raise your kids in a way that gives them that emotional maturity that you're working on even now. So let's talk about what it takes, or what are these essentials that I'm referring to today. There are 3 core beliefs that your kids need to have about themselves in order to be emotionally healthy. These core beliefs are, ready? There's 3. I'm going to list them to you. The first is I am safe. So that belief that I am safe, the world is safe, I don't need to worry so much about my needs, that I can relax in my environment, and from that relaxed state, I can go and try and do hard things and take big swings in the world and live my life. So this core essential belief that your child needs to have is that they are safe. And I'll talk more about what that entails. The second core belief your child needs to grow up with is the thought, I'm good enough, or you could think of it as I'm lovable. So we want our kids to walk through the world believing that they're good enough exactly as they are, that they're worthy of love, and that they're lovable. They don't have to work at that. They don't have to strive to get acceptance. They don't have to strive to get love. They don't have to strive to get worth. That it is an essential core value within them that they are good enough exactly as they are. So we have I am safe, I'm good enough, I'm capable. That's the third one. I am capable. I can handle things. I can figure stuff out. I know how to take care of myself. Now, when you're little, you don't know that yet. You're learning that you're capable. When you're little, you don't know that you're safe. You have to trust the adults around you, right? When you're little, you don't know if you're lovable. Now, each person comes in the world preset to believe these things. They want to be proven true. I am safe. They believe that that is possible. They're born with the belief that the caregivers around them are going to take care of them. Children are born with the belief, I'm good enough and lovable. They're born with the belief, I'm capable. That's their preset, their mindset, right, is set that way. Their cognitive bias is I'm safe, I'm good enough, I'm capable. The problem happens, though, in childhood when they start to get different messages or they have subconscious experiences or experiences that happen to them and that are never explained, that they are like nonverbal memories or impressions, or kind of like if you're a fish and you're swimming in the water, you don't really know what water is, right? It's just the environment that you're in. So your children are absorbing messages all the time about themselves and the world based on their interactions with you. So they come out, they're born, and they're like, the world is safe, I'm good enough, and I'm capable. The world is my oyster, okay? Now, when things are ideal and circumstances and experiences that your children have facilitate those beliefs, like if they are, you can create an environment of safety for your child. If you can teach, keep showing them that they're lovable and that they're good enough. If you can reinforce to them that they're capable, and that's the messages that they get, those are the subconscious beliefs that they carry with them into adulthood. Your child's earliest years set the groundwork for their subconscious beliefs about themselves and the world. Their nervous system is predominantly wired in those early childhood years, 0 to 5, and then sort of reinforced in those years between 5 to 12. So kind of childhood in general is 0 to 12. Essentially, could be a little bit earlier, 11, or could be a little bit later. It's essentially the period of time that you are a child before you are an adolescent. Before you go through puberty, you are in childhood. That's the time period that I'm referring to, that you have a lot of influence over your children's beliefs about themselves. So a lot of times when we start with I am safe versus I'm not safe, we talk a lot about establishing that safe environment and creating secure attachment. And a lot of times it's only limited to infancy. And in reality, your child is looking at their environment and trying to understand it all the way through their childhood, all the way through 10 or 11. They're still working out that essential belief of I am safe. So yes, of course, when they're little and when they're first born and they cannot meet any of their physical needs, we are teaching them that we are their caregiver, that we're the person they can trust and rely on, and that we will meet their basic needs. And that's the beginning of helping them believe, like, yep, the world is safe. The caregivers around me are trustworthy. They help me sleep. They help me stay warm. They help me stay clean. They feed me. They care for me when I'm sad or crying or scared. The grownups in my world are safe. And we start out in infancy giving that to our children. Now, when our kids get a little bit older, we forget that they're still working on believing that the world is safe, and it goes into both the physical and the emotional world. They want to know that the adults around them can handle their emotional safety, that you are the person that they don't need to be scared of, right? That you are the person that protects them from harm. You're not the person that harms them. Now, this is, of course, very easy when children are little and they don't talk back to us and they don't have behaviors yet, really, right? We can have a lot more understanding of like a 6-month-old who is having trouble and crying a lot. But when it's a 6-year-old, we have a lot less patience for that. And we might start to communicate that, you know what, you're not physically safe because you're being naughty. And we start to connect emotional safety and physical safety to their behavior. The child starts to learn that their environment is not essentially safe. It's only safe when they act a certain way, that it's not unconditionally safe, that they're not unconditionally cared for, that they're cared for only based on their behavior or the adult's emotional capacity or the adult's, whether the adults are like wanting to take care of them or not. It becomes conditional. Now, if safety is conditional based on my behavior, that means that I, as the person, need to become vigilant and be in a hyper state of awareness and always looking at my environment and trying to figure out, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? like, for example, for me, when I was growing up, when I was really little, my most of my physical needs were maintained or met by my mom. But as I got older, some of my physical needs were not met, like I was hungry or I wasn't cared for, or if I had big feelings or emotional fears, I wasn't being cared for. I was in a state of neglect because of my mom's own mental health issues and her own physical limitations. She couldn't take care of me. So as a little kid, I was taken care of, but as her mental health declined and her circumstances in her life, and she made choices that put me in positions where I was with people who were not safe, men who were not safe, caregivers who were not safe, I learned, oh my goodness, the world is not safe. I better become vigilant. I better be protective of myself. If I don't get to inherit a core essential belief that the world is safe, then my nervous system is going to become activated and I'm going to become hypervigilant. I'm going to become anxious. I might disassociate from my body. I might seek safety in relationships, or I might reject relationships because I decide they're not safe. So we want to be a emotionally and physically reliable caregiver to our kids. That's a lot about what this podcast is all about, is becoming a calm mama, so that we can show up with our kids and in a way that gives them these messages that they're safe, they're good enough, they're lovable, they're capable. Another thing that recreates safety actually is when adults around you have boundaries. When you know that the adult, what they say they're going to do, they do it, or the rules, when the rules are firm, not rigid, because if you're too rigid, then the child might intercept the world as being like your rigidity, your lack of safety makes your child feel like the world isn't safe. They might catch your emotional hypervigilance and interpret that as being like, oh, the world isn't safe. So we don't want too much rigidity, but we do want predictable routines. We want to follow through with our rules and with our boundaries, because it helps the child say, okay, look, this caregiver, I can pretty much rely on what they say they're going to do, they're going to do. How they're going to treat me is predictable. They basically treat me the same way. We basically eat the same way every day. We sleep at the same time. We have a regulated family system, predictable with routines. I'm not saying it has to be consistent every day. It doesn't have to be super strict. Rigidity actually creates insecurity. To be honest, we can't be too rigid because that communicates anxiety to our kids. But we do want to create a predictable rhythm. I always think of like a metronome in the background of life. If you can kind of have that system be a little bit reliable and predictable, your kids will feel safe. So again, emotional safety and physical safety are both really, really important. The next core belief, I'm good enough or I'm lovable, is creating a baseline for your child of unconditional worth, unconditional love. I often think of this as unconditional acceptance, because most parents love their kids. If I were to ask any parent, do you love your kid? Do you love your kid unconditionally? They will say, yes, of course. Like, what are you talking about? But when I press a little bit on how do you treat your child when they hit you? How do you treat your child when they hit their sibling? How do you treat your child when they don't do their chores, when they don't follow directions, when they don't listen to you? And a lot of times I'll hear, or myself even in the past would like, oh, I get really mad at them. I yell at them. I tell them that they need to act better. I tell them that they're not being good, right? So when we have an attitude towards our children where we like our kid, but we don't like how they act, it can be confusing for our child because they are pretty sure you mean that you don't like them. They conflate their behavior with their own sense of identity. It's really hard for kids to separate themselves from their behavior. You are what you eat kind of idea. They are how they act. That's what they think. So we have to actively work at communicating to them that they're lovable no matter how they act, that they are good enough, that we accept them exactly as they are. And I can tell you that's really hard to feel the way towards them of unconditional acceptance when you don't like them sometimes, right? So we have to work through that feeling of like, I love my kid, but I don't like them. Your child will internalize that message. They will feel that from you. We have to actively work on, I like my child no matter how they act, and really being able to have our child believe that they don't have to do anything or be any different in order to receive our unconditional acceptance. We want to communicate to our kids that they have our acceptance and that our love, no matter what, that they can't earn it and it can't be taken away, that it doesn't depend on their behavior or their personality. Now, if you have a really delightful child that's very easygoing, pretty compliant, and, goes with the flow, neurotypical, no issues, it's very easy to communicate this belief, right, that you're good enough no matter what. It is harder if you have a child who has a really big personality or who has neurodivergence like ADHD and they have impulse control, or you have a child who is preset towards some anxious feelings or negative thinking or, behavior that's troubling for you. If your child acts in a way that you don't like, it can be hard to not communicate to them that you don't like them. So one of the tools that I always go back to all the time is, even I've done this for myself, is creating a delight list and actively writing down things that I like about my kid so that when I am around them, I can communicate to them, I like you, that I find you delightful, that you are the child I like. You're my kid and I enjoy having you in particular as my kid. This is that whole piece about authenticity, right? Your child has an authentic core self and they want to believe that that core self is lovable. Now, when a child goes through life with thinking that they're not good enough or they're not lovable, they will show up with a lot of people-pleasing behavior. They may be perfectionistic. They may deny their own needs or their own ideas or their own creativity or their own intuition. They may squash that down because they've looked around at the environment and they realize, oh, the adults only like me when I act like this. And they will want to show up that way. So we have to work at saying, no. I love you no matter what. I accept you no matter how you act. You are lovable all the time. Even though you have these quirky parts of your personality, I don't love you despite those. I love you because of those. And I'm telling you, that takes a lot of work. Don't feel discouraged or beat yourself up of like, gosh, you know what? She's right. I really don't like my kid. I want you to work on liking your kid, finding some things that you enjoy about them. Because I don't want your child to grow up to be a perfectionist or to have social anxiety or to people please or to be sacrificial or secretive or, obsessed with outward success, like performative, how they look or how they perform in school or how they perform in sports or how much stuff they have, right? That is a person when someone has those strategies and they're focused on getting that acceptance from something on the external, on the outside, that shows that deep down they don't believe I'm lovable exactly as I am. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of acceptance exactly as I am. Looking out for yourself and thinking about how am I showing up. And we have to be careful when we're disciplining a child because your child will have out of bounds behavior. They're little. They don't know how the world works yet. And they also don't have a lot of good reason to do what is being told of them, right? They want to play. They want to have fun. They want to get what they want. They don't want to delay gratification. They don't want to just do things because they're told to, right? That we don't want kids who just people please all the time, but we do want kids who are compliant. So that's why we have to set limits and have boundaries, have rules, have routines. And then when our kids go outside of those boundaries and break the rule, for example, hey, we can play toys once you guys have put your socks and shoes in the shoe bin. and then they don't put their socks and shoes away, and you have to say, okay, we're not going to play toys because there hasn't been cleanup on the socks and shoes yet. So, I'm going to hold that boundary. We're not going to, play in the toy room, or, I'm not going to get the crayons out or the markers or whatever, the Play-Doh, until you guys clean this up, or until you clean this up. And then they kind of have a big feeling cycle. Now, in that moment, we might be communicating to our child, you know what, if you would just be good, it would be so much easier. Why are you being like this? And we're exasperated and we're frustrated and we're blaming our child and we're angry with our child for their behavior. We have to put that in check a little bit and understand, hey, you have feelings, you have thoughts, you don't want to listen because of where you're at. And that makes sense. And the rule is the rule. So we are making sure that we're not communicating to our child that we only want to play with them or interact with them or do things for them when they're quote unquote good. We want to know that they are still learning how to follow directions, how to delay gratification, how to control their impulses, that they're little and they're figuring it out, and that they're going to learn how to take care of themselves and they're going to get bigger. That leads me into the I'm capable piece. In order for your child to believe that they are capable, that they're capable of learning and growing and doing new things and mastering new skills, is by making mistakes, being in an environment where it's normal to not know how to do everything right. That goes back to I'm good enough, I'm lovable even when I am acting bad, right? I'm good even when I'm quote bad. Our kids need to understand that they're not bad, that they're making a mistake, that they're still learning, and that's totally normal. So we want to normalize misbehavior. We want to normalize mistakes. We want to view our children, as little people who are still learning how to manage their nervous system, how to regulate their emotions, how to delay gratification, how to understand cause and effect, how to take care of themselves and have multiple things in a list in their mind that they're supposed to do. They're still young. They don't have access to executive functioning to the same degree that we have as adults. So they're going to make a lot of mistakes. And if we get angry that they are acting impulsively, if we get angry that they are not delaying gratification, if we get angry that they are, sitting down to do their homework and instead of doing that, they're playing with their pencil, and we're like, what's wrong with you? Come on, just get to it. And we're like frustrated all the time. What we're communicating to our children is, you know what? You're not good enough. And it doesn't seem like you're capable. And that's a terrible message. And I know that's not what you want to send to your children. I know that's not actually how you think and feel about them. But it might be how you are coming across because of your own emotional dysregulation. So as a parent, I want you to adopt this growth mindset for your kids, that they get to be beginners and they get to work towards higher and higher levels of skills, normalizing they won't be good at everything, and that's okay. But that includes behaving. That includes a morning routine, a bedtime routine. You are going to feel frustrated with your children often, but if you are able to look at their behavior from that lens of, oh, this is emotional immaturity, this is emotional, physical immaturity. This is an immature nervous system. This is a lack of skill in terms of self-regulation. If you can see your child's behavior from that neutral lens or even a compassionate lens, then you can be compassionate towards them. You can be kind towards them while still being firm. Always having that underlying message with your kids. Hey, you know what? You're safe in this world and in this family and in this environment, no matter how you act. You're lovable no matter how you act. I'm going to think you're capable. I'm going to know you're capable even when you make mistakes, which that means we have to be okay with mistakes. We have to be okay with misbehavior. So what does this look like in practice, right? So in practice, I've given you some examples of when you see misbehavior, right? We still want to be able to hold our boundaries, whatever we've said is going to happen, like lights out is at 8, or I'll read books to you for 10 minutes and then I'm going to sit the chair next to your bed. Whatever the rule is or whatever the limit is, I want you to follow through with that limit. And when your child is struggling to maintain emotional regulation in the midst of that boundary, that you stay as calm as possible, that you hold space for that emotional upset. And you teach your children, of course, you validate, of course, you don't want me to leave the room. That makes sense. But I am going to leave, and you are capable of falling asleep on your own. I believe in you. I'll come check on you in a couple of minutes. I want you to keep sending the message. It's okay if you struggle. It's okay, but I know you can do it. I know you can manage your big feelings. I'm here to support you no matter how you act. Giving that message to your kids. The other thing I wanted to talk about is sometimes kids will share with you the negative thoughts that they have in their heads. Like, oh, you don't love me, or you hate me, or I'm stupid, or no one likes me, or I'm a bad boy, or I'm a bad girl, or everyone is mad at me, or it's scary. And they are giving you this negative thought, right? They're saying something that's in their mind that you don't want them to be thinking. What is beautiful about it is at least they're telling you their thoughts. That is so important because when you know what your children are thinking, we are able to coach them. We validate their feeling. We say, okay, let me, you're saying that you think I hate you. Are you feeling a little bit scared that I'm mad at you? Are you feeling worried? So we narrate that thought and we hear them say, no one likes me. You say, oh, I hear you. Are you thinking that no one likes you? Like no one likes you at all? Or are you thinking that you're saying, I hate you? Like you're thinking mommy hates you? Is that what you think? A lot of times if you just question the thought and you put just a little bit of a mirror in front of it where they're saying, you like my brother more, or you like my sibling more. And you say, oh, are you thinking that I like your sibling more than I like you? That's what you're thinking? Huh. Yeah. Does that make you feel a little bit sad when you're thinking that? Are you feeling worried that I don't like you that much? Yeah, that makes sense that you'd be feeling worried about that because I gave your brother cookies before you. Yeah, that makes sense. So you're narrating the thought, you're naming the feeling, and then you're allowing time, you're allowing that regulation time. So we're not rushing to get to that. That's not true. That's not true. Why would you say that? That's not very nice. Do you think that mommy likes to hear that? All of that minimizing or dismissive behaviors that you might have, that you might say to your kids, it's not really useful. All we want to do is mirror back and say to our kids, this is what you're thinking, this is what you're feeling, validating that. And then you can say, well, you know what? I know how I think. I know that I don't hate you. I know that I love you no matter how you act. I know that's true. I know that for sure that you're capable of, doing your math homework. I know there's a lot of people that do like you. I know that you're safe. I know that the grown-ups I would never let anybody hurt you. I know that no matter what you say, nothing could ever make me love you less. I know you're capable. Mistakes happen. You're still learning. That's okay. You're not supposed to do everything perfect. So when your child expresses their negative thought, you want to narrate that thought, like mirror it back. I hear you saying that you're thinking that I don't like you or that you're stupid. And then naming the feeling that is under there. Like, are you feeling worried? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling nervous? Are you feeling angry? And then saying that feeling makes sense. We all have those feelings. That's okay. It's okay to be angry with mommy. It's okay to be worried. And then you kind of give a minute for them to regulate their emotion. Maybe they need to have a little hug from you, or they need to move their body a little bit, just noticing and narrating what their body might need to regulate in that moment. So we narrate the thought, we name the feeling, we regulate the body, and then we coach the mind. So then you start to do mindset, dispelling that negative thought by confirming what is true. So all the negative thoughts that come up, those are just thoughts. They're like clouds. They come and go. But if we think them over and over and over, they become our weather. They become our regular experience. They become our beliefs. So your children are going to show up with thoughts like I'm not safe, I'm not lovable, I'm not capable. They're going to say those things in some version. That's normal. Those are normal thoughts. And what I want you to do is not let those thoughts become beliefs by narrating the thought, naming the feeling, regulating the body, coaching the mind. That is the connection tool in a nutshell. Kind of dispelling any of those negative thoughts. First, you have to make sure you don't have any of those negative thoughts. Make sure you don't have any of those negative beliefs about your kids. Make sure you're thinking the world is safe. Make sure you're thinking your child is unconditionally lovable. Make sure you're thinking that your child is capable and that mistakes are normal. Check yourself. Notice if your thoughts are aligned with the parent you want to be. If you're not, then move that mindset so that you can show up in that connection space with your kids and communicating to them. You are safe. You are lovable, and you are capable. And just in case no one has ever told you that, I want you to know that I know that you are safe, you are lovable, and you are capable. And you are actively becoming the parent that you want to be. All right, thanks for listening. I will talk to you next week. I hope you have a great week. Hey mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do two things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that, again, at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies, just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.